Hey, good afternoon everybody and welcome to another show here at the Broadcast Show. We have got three wise men on our sofa to talk all things 4K. Well, actually, the subject is 4K acquisition, but I think this is going to turn into a 4K frenzy.
What is it?
Let's say hello to them, shall we? Recognisable face, of course. Our very own John on the end there. We've got Guy Thatcher from Hire a Camera as well, and Mr. Philip Bloom. Welcome, gents.
Welcome.
Hello.
How are we? Enjoying the show so far?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a long
busy.
way.
Yes.
I mean, it's better than Earls Court. It's a better venue.
You're liking it?
I'm a West London boy.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's like practically in
Passport
another
thing.
country for you.
God,
with a
it
passport.
is. It's as quick as it gets to Paris. Yeah.
So we are here to talk about 4K acquisition. As I say, I think we're going to talk all things 4K. Discuss. We've got props and everything.
We've got props.
I love it.
We're going to go left field on to other things.
Are you going to
as
pick
well.
up the prop? I'm not picking it up. I'll get a hernia.
I'll pick it up. You talk about it.
I mean, we were here at the show last year, and 4K really was really the big buzz then, wasn't it? And obviously, we're seeing a lot more of it. People are starting to get a lot more touchy-feely with it, particularly you guys, I know. So
with 4K?
Yes, with 4K.
Oh, you meant to go.
Yes, with 4K.
Here we go.
There we go. That's it. That's not bad. Within a minute. Yes, very good. 29 more minutes to go. Let's see how many more we can get in. So, acquisition. Let's talk about it, Guy.
Okay. Well,
Put the props on.
first prop.
Da-da-da.
Okay. So, 2 weeks ago, Blackmagic production camera came out, which has got a 4K label on it, hasn't it, Philip?
It's not really 4K.
Good start. Good start.
Well, in that it's Ultra HD, and there is a difference. It's a pixel difference. 4096 by 2160 is 4K. This is 3840 by 2160.
Yeah.
So, which is what the TVs are, and that's nothing wrong with that because we shoot HD, which is the same as TVs. We don't shoot 2K. Well, some people do. So it doesn't really make a massive difference, but it's confusing. It's not truly 4K. I think that's part of the reason why it's called a production camera rather than a cinema camera.
Okay.
Cinema camera would be shooting the full 4K.
Okay, well, this is all about 4K, so do you want to put that down and we'll talk about something else?
Nah,
Well, the interesting thing about this is, the fact it is called production camera. I think the worst thing that Blackmagic did is actually put it in the same housing as the cinema camera because everybody got confused right from the start.
Okay.
The cinema camera, certainly from our customers' point of view, I mean, it's probably the most confusing camera that everybody hired out over the last year because no one really understood what it was about. Our customers certainly look at it from a workflow point of view, and it's not that market at all. It wasn't meant for that kind of market. This is interesting in that the fact that it's about the workflow with this. I mean, we've been playing with it already, and having the 4K in ProRes, I mean, Philip will tell you all about transcoding 1TC footage and how long that takes, even with his super new supercomputer. And the whole point with this is that it is really, really easy to implement in terms of the workflow. Yes, there are disadvantages with it, but for a production basis, for our kind of customers, which are the small one-man bands and sort of freelancers, it does make more sense.
Yeah, but ProRes is great anyway. I mean, it's RAW. I love RAW. Don't get me wrong, I love RAW.
If you've got the time.
Well, the only RAW that I found is really easy to work with is R3D red stuff. Everything else has been a pain because Cinema DNG. Most of Cinema DNG, and they haven't put it in here yet. I don't quite know how much space it will take up.
Yeah.
But Cinema DNG 4K, I've been using it on the, just announced that they put it into the Odyssey, Convergence on Odyssey 7Q. And I was shooting with it, testing it out, and I was shooting 4K 50p. I was getting 12 minutes to half a terabyte in Cinema DNG. I was compressed. And that's the problem. Not just workflow. It's like I can't even carry that many hard drives. I can't even afford that many SSDs.
Yeah.
I take 5 hours of media when I go on a shoot, and that's Aston Martin.
There's a panel discussion here at the show. I think a little bit later on today. I was chatting with Larry Jordan earlier about when people should start to take up 4K as far as the small. So that's the answer.
For me, not in RAW, in ProRes or XAVC. So I use an F55, and the XAVC codec in 4K is brilliant. The compression is so well done, and it's so easy. It flies with your editing systems. And I like 4K not because anybody's hiring me for 4K productions, because nobody is really hiring for true 4K productions apart from really, really high-end stuff. It's for acquisition. It's the same thing happened when I first got HD. Yeah. I was still doing standard definition, but I was acquiring an HD because it gave me better quality image. And the image out of 4K, when you scale it down, You can use a recorder and get ProRes off it. And I mean, like this one here, this is the Ninja Blade.
So this has just been announced, in fact launched at the show yesterday, and it's there to buy now. It's the update from the Ninja 2, but it's got the Samurai screen.
Yeah,
Samurai Blade screen,
which is so it's a really usable monitor. It's a 1280 720 res, and so you can plug this into a 1DC, record 4K internally, use this as your monitor, record in ProRes, so you've got an HD, and the HD signal from the 4K. The 4K signal going into this, and the recording is fantastic. It's really, really good. So there's that aspect of it, recording a better quality. But for me, because I do mostly documentaries, and for my interviews, in 4K, not so much needed for the rest of it, but for the interviews, it's just a joy. It's simply the fact that cropping, I can have so many cameras in one.
Yes.
And yeah, you don't get the change of depth of field or things like that when you put a longer lens on it. But to be able to cut into a tight from a wide whenever I want to, that ability is, for me, what makes 4K absolutely essential for acquisition.
And that's the speed of production for you as well. If you're on a time limit with your interviewee, that's a big thing as well.
Well, it's not just it's not having to hire another operator.
Yep.
And it's also eyeline. If you have two cameras, your eyeline's going to go off.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to put them so far close together and so far away, try and keep them narrow. So there's definitely that for sure. And I just love the image. I love the image of 4K, scaled down. Yes, the croppability is great. I don't use it for being lazy in cinematography, for like not getting any tights or wides, but it helps so much. I did a talk in about 4K in Rome at a show last week, and there was these guys who shoot food programs, and they were like, oh, 4K, we don't need 4K. They shoot C100s, they don't need 4K. I said, have you thought about this? And I think they have 4 cameras going.
Yep.
And it's expensive for operators. I don't want to do people out of jobs, but it makes sense. And I said, if you did that in 4K, you would have your 4 cameras in 2.
So I'm thinking for the smaller production companies, for the want of a better term, the one-man banders as well who are out there. I'm guessing a lot of those are your kind of clients as well, Guy. They're thinking, oh, well, do you know what? I've got storage issues, the acquisition issues that we're talking about. But then that outweighs the cost, and it's a little bit of a balance.
The balance is starting to move now. I mean, at our end of it, at the moment, the 1DCs are really, really popular. As Philip says, the HDMI feed out straight into a Ninja, it's a no-brainer. They've got the best of both worlds there, and actually, it's a stunning image coming out onto the Ninja. Now you've got the Ninja Blade as well. The 1DC hasn't got any waveforms or anything on it. They're on here, so you can actually use, especially with this, you can actually use this as a decent tool with the 1DC anyway.
It's a monitor, it's bright enough to be outside, and it's what you need. You need a monitor because it may be a C camera like the C100 and 500 and 300, but it's a DSLR. In fact, it doesn't have anything to help you, that camera, when you're actually shooting. And it's a wonderful image. But obviously workflow is an issue, storage is an issue. Computers are obviously getting faster. The latest MacBook Pro outputs 4K, will edit 4K to a degree, but the new Mac Pros have come out and they fly. And I got one like 3 weeks ago, and 4K now suddenly edits like HD. And before that I was editing proxies, I was converting to proxies, and now I don't have to. And
I guess the point is that you are acquiring in 4K, but that's not necessarily your output, because not who's.
The only time I output 4K is my own personal projects.
Yeah.
And that's it. Other than that, it's HD masters to the clients.
Excellent. And then we've got a couple of other bits down here. There's, for want of a better term, affordable acquisition as well. I mean, thinking about the GoPro as well.
This is kind of interesting. I mean, with Philip and I were just talking about it before, the earlier versions of this, the A15 and the AS30, unfortunately the AS15 came out virtually almost the same day that GoPro released the the 303, and that was just unfortunate timing, because the reality was that it just couldn't compete at all. Where this is quite interesting is that Sony's kind of gone back to the drawing board, and they've come out with something quite interesting. I mean, for a start, this is actually splash proof, so you don't actually need the housing, unless you're actually going to be throwing the water.
What is splash proof?
Well, the idea is you can go, exactly. Well, then it depends where you live in England.
You can't drop it into the water.
I think it's surface waterproof. you
if it
decide for
floats
yourself.
you
about
okay.
Because they've got phones which are waterproof, all their new mobile phones.
Yeah.
You've got a bottle of water there. Should we try? No, let's.
Is this your one?
No, there's only 3 of them around, so please don't kill
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Otherwise, I'll be in
Sorry,
trouble.
that was my fault. Yeah, yeah.
But the interesting thing about this is that this actually records. Philip was talking about XAVC. This actually records XAVC-S, which is Sony's consumer version.
Okay.
It's not 100 megabits a second, but it is actually 50 megabits a second in HD.
Is it 422?
Not sure actually, to be honest.
I
I think
it's
it's 420.
I think it's capable of it, isn't it? I don't know.
The XAVC
I know that is, yeah.
Pro version is, but I think the S is actually only 50 megabits a second. It's 420. But the whole interesting part here is just that we talk about bigger cameras and everything else, but now we're talking about something really, really quite small, which is, I know you've got issues with AVC HD in certain respects, and the whole point with this is that even in something small as that, we're now moving forward with codecs. That's the other thing, is that the media is starting to bump up as well in terms of size and also in terms of speed as well. We've got newer cards on their way which will be far, far quicker, ready for 4K acquisition. And then the other one that we haven't got here at the moment, I tried to nick it but they wouldn't let me have it, was the GH4, which is coming along.
Okay.
4K for the masses, that is. That's, apart from mobile phones, it's the cheapest 4K acquisition device.
So we're finding that this is all just picking up a real head of steam now, and it's gonna is it? Obviously it already has, but someone who's thinking, right, I'm obviously go and hire stuff. That would be a great way. But as far as actually purchasing this kind of equipment, is it going to move, or is it going to move really fast, or no faster than sort of SD to HD to?
HD. The thing is, HD is still incredible. It's incredible, and it's actually only now we're getting cameras which are truly giving us a fantastic HD image. Most things were sub-HD, effectively. The sensors weren't quite good enough. And of course, it's not just the cameras, it's the way you're putting it out. Not many people have 4K TVs.
No.
Not many. We're talking tiny numbers. They're dropping in price. That's great, but you still have very little content. The only thing that's going to come along soonish will be Netflix 4K, and there's only a few things that have been shot 4K, like House of Cards. So the thing is, convincing consumers to buy 4K when there's no real content is a tricky one. It's going to require really good salesmen, and it's also bandwidth as well. It's not just our recording bandwidth; it is bandwidth of transmitting. But with H.265 coming along, which is what Netflix are going to use, it's about a quarter of H.264. So it's 4 times more compressed, but looks better. So it's actually, that's what the problem is. It's I don't know quite when we'll be seeing 4K on our TVs as a norm, because we're still not really seeing how many HD channels are there compared to SD channels? Not that many.
And they're only more rolling out. They've just been another update of that sort of stuff as well. So we're kind of saying that for delivery, forget about 4K for now, but for acquisition, keep going with it, because it's really going to help your production process.
The commercial reasons for it. From our customers' point of view, it's another thing to be able to sell to your customers. The one thing that's really changed is, when we go back 8 years or so to when HD came along, they wanted to be able to offer future compatibility working forwards in terms of what they shot, and be able to then go and resell it effectively to their customers again going further down the line, because they'd shot it in HD even though they were only outputting at that point in SD. And we're now getting customers coming to us that want to be able to offer to shoot it in 4K, even though we know perfectly well, and they know perfectly well, that it's only ever going to be pushed out in HD for the moment. And the irony is it usually end up going streaming anyway, so it's compressed to hell.
You're
anyway.
Unlikely to be able to actually convince the client to pay the extra. It's just
it's being able to
offer
when they something else against someone else.
It's when they come back to you like a year later, 2 years later, or 5 years later, and say, "Hey, we'd like it," and they go, "Ah, still got it." It just depends on the project, really, because actually quite a few, most things, there's no need to have a future-proof version. Yeah, obviously documentaries, features, that sort of stuff, maybe even weddings. You never know if weddings last long enough.
And the thing with the thing you're talking about, the whole size of it, and being able to crop in and that sort of thing for that kind of market is
and from my point of view, on a corporate side, the ability to be able to do that, to have multiple cameras in one, is a big deal. And where I see people ask me, should I move to 4K? well, I said not for delivery, but exactly as Philip was saying, if you can only afford one camera and you want to start doing, you're going to start doing talking heads, you don't want to have to hire in another camera, this is the way to go. And it's interesting, with you guys here, I mean, we've got the Blackmagic camera here, and
oh my God, they're looking at
a reasonably low-cost camera, but we're not looking at a reasonably low-cost
not
setup.
with his lens on it.
No. So people, would you say if people wanted to move into 4K now, should they start looking at something like this, knowing that, let's face it, this is going to be replaced by something else in the next...
That's the same with anything, isn't it?
But you used to look at a BMW 700 or something like that, and that would last you many, many years, and you get a lot of use out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say this camera's going to last you that long, because Blackmagic, a company, seems to bring out, they bring out cameras every year at the moment.
Sure.
This clearly has many issues.
Yeah.
They haven't fixed the software issues from the original cinema camera, which is a massive problem, as in formatting, clip deletion, audio meters, and the internal audio is still atrocious. And I haven't shot much with this yet. I've only had a couple of tests, but you went out shooting with it with James Miller, and your battery life was
shocking.
atrocious.
20 minutes on internals. I mean, you've got to use a V-lock with it, otherwise you're going to
So it's they're going to get better. They're, I think this is kind of like, this is I would call it their prototype in a way, and they'll come out with a much more refined version, and you'll want it. If they bring out one in a year's time that has great audio, has all the things you've wanted it to do, has a better form factor, then you're going to upgrade. But then again, it's how much is it?
It's 2,000. I mean, how many jobs have you got to do to be
it's not
to make your money?
Whereas you buy an F55 with all the stuff, you're looking at 50 grand.
That's a considerable investment, isn't it?
So
and as I say, your investments in your lens, you've got your lenses, you've got accessories. If they replace this block with something else, you're on and you're off with a...
You look at how big the camera is, you go, oh, nice and small, but then you add everything onto it, and it is like an F55. It's obviously cheaper, but what I love about that sort of camera, and that's why we need more smaller ones, complete in one, that's what I love about the 1DC internal recording for 4K, and we've got with the GH4 as well, is it keeps it tight and small. I want small cameras. And that's where it's not a small camera.
No.
Even the pocket camera is not really a small camera.
No, because you've got to add everything to it again.
Exactly, so it's a true small camera, smooth form factor. I mean, the GH4, as small as it is, as soon as you want to put the Pro modules on, it doubles in size.
Doubles in size, yeah, exactly.
But it's still, at least they've offered they've given us the option.
And you've got no LED viewfinder on it as well, which is a big thing over this, because I mean, we shot with this in sunlight, and no way.
It's good for checking your hair, though. Oh. Hang on, I didn't mean that.
That
was a slip. Sorry, it was good for checking your makeup. How about
thanks,
that?
mate.
There we go.
Yeah, no, I mean, we went out with this and we found real limitations in that sense. So you just got to add some things onto it. We use an Alphatron viewfinder on it, so we've got waveforms in there, and actually you can see something. But in anything approaching sort of anything dusk, you can't see anything on the back.
All right, so someone out there who's watching this show and thinking, go on then, they've convinced me, 4K, where do they start? What would you guys suggest as maybe a good hire for the first time, something to go and try it out and test their system, I suppose, in some ways? Or do we know it's if they're not?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because there's not actually an ideal one out there. The 1DC is great, but the Motion JPEG codec is a bit of a pain.
Needs work.
You've got to, even with my Mac Pro, I convert it to ProRes XQ because it's just easier.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, that in itself is very good.
The workflow on this is good, and it's cheap.
And if you rent it from Guy, he's obviously going to give you. He's not going to rent it out as it is because he'll get a few complaints. It's worth, and it's a cheap camera to buy, so it's good.
Yeah.
GH4 is unknown as far as I know.
We don't know what it's like. One yet.
But my major issue with this, of course, is it's a camera that needs lighting for.
Yeah.
Fine for outside, indoors.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to them, they never made any sort of secret of the fact that it's not very good in low light. 400 ISO, and that's it.
We're going to see more and more cameras which shoot 4K internal and will be all-in-one tight stuff. We've already got Sony brought out their handy cams, which do XAVC, S.
Yep, they do indeed.
You know, I don't know quite what they're like, but you know, they're happening, and that's almost what you want to try the workflow with.
I mean, it's interesting. I had a Sony Z100, which is their sort of, I don't know, NX5 type size, Z5 type size camcorder recently. And we were looking at it, and you know, we're going back to exactly the old thing of the PD170 against a Sony Z1, in that everybody picks it up and they basically felt, well, it's no good in low light. You know, it's a simple fact of physics. You want to put 4 times as many pixels in the same size sensor. Even with technology getting better and better, you're going to have to pay the price at some point. But at the moment, you know, with very small sensors which are HD, The fact is they need light. So if you're expecting to replace your HD version and then go out and do exactly the same thing as you were doing before, it's just not going to happen.
It's not always the same case because it's Super 35 and it's still not.
Yeah.
I mean, but this has a global shutter. Mustn't forget.
Oh yeah.
The feature of this is a global shutter, which is a massive thing. So all your
price,
skewing, that we're sick of with CMOS. CMOS is amazing in certain ways because of low light and everything else.
Yep.
But the skewing has driven us nuts. And have a CC, well, it's not CCD, it's CMOS, but with a global shutter.
Yeah, but it's the global shutter.
You suddenly can...
buses go past like that.
You can do tracking shots in the car without having your lamp post like that.
Yeah.
You can do handheld stuff, action stuff without going... And this is for a £2,000 camera, it's a massive feature. And it's 4K. So get past all the fact that you have to add stuff. It doesn't matter. You want to do that sort of stuff.
But the stuff you add, you can use with another one. That's the whole point. That's all reusable.
Next step up that does the same thing, 4K global shutter, F55.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a lot more money.
So this is something that you can purchase for a couple of grand. That bit's yours.
With DaVinci Resolve with it.
Yeah.
And then you're off and you can get your bits from the likes of yourself.
V-lock batteries you'll use with
that.
other things. The lenses, it's EF mount, for goodness sake. So if you use an SLR at the moment, you've probably got loads of EF lenses kicking around.
Most people don't have your lenses, Guy. I don't.
Well, that's why they can harden.
Which is interesting. Talking while we're on the subject of lenses.
Oh yes, that's nice.
We've got one here. Do we need? Does 4K show up issues in lenses more than the HD would do?
It depends how cheap your lens is.
Yeah.
I use SLR lenses. I use Canon lenses on the Epic.
So L glass, for example.
So loads of people use L series on the Epic, and it's great. Don't forget, this is designed for very large megapixel sensor cameras anyway.
Exactly. I mean, that's the whole point. Is that how many megapixels are people shooting professionally on their Canon cameras with L lenses as a living? And you're talking about 17, 18 megapixels, for goodness sake, and then we're sitting here worrying about 8 megapixels.
And to show the quality of a lot of SLR glass, I mean, this is a Tokina 11-16, which has been 11 to 16. This has been the go-to wide-angle lens for a number of years, and I've had a cine modified version from Duclos lenses in LA for ages, and now they've actually made them themselves. And Sigma have gone leaps and bounds with their glass.
1835.
They're 1835 f1.8 zoom lens, crop sensor only. I've got that cine modified as well, and it's SLR glass.
Stunning.
And they're 35 and they're 50. These lenses, you don't have to necessarily spend a fortune on really high quality SLR glass.
That's the nice thing. I mean, it used to be all CP2s really is where it started, and for now, especially if you want zooms, you're talking cine zooms are expensive. And the nice thing is Samyang when they first came out, and funnily enough, it was Philip that put me onto them. He got them and said, you won't believe actually how good they are for the money. And, we now stock a full range of them, and they're literally constantly out. The nice thing is you either go from sort of this budget all the way up to this budget, and there's something for everybody. You haven't got to go and basically blow the bank to at least pick up something, which is nice.
They're nice lenses because they've got, they're smooth irises, they've got built-in gears. For the money, they're very good lenses. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, we're talking about the acquisition, talking about moving to 4K. Can we come up with a little bit of maybe a checklist from your experience of working with it, of someone who's going to go out there and, having listened to us today, taken our advice, listened to what you boys have said, and said, go on then, I'm going to go for the 4K. Where do we start? What bumps do we look out for in kind of summary?
One thing is that the key thing is going to be money. I'm not talking about just the cost of the camera, the cost of storage, recording media. There's storage as well. Can your computer cope with it? And your time.
Time's big.
Time, if you don't have a computer that can cope with it that easily, you've got to think about time. So it does make a difference, and certainly storage media, because with file-based media, you're talking, you really should do 3 backups, three copies of everything. And if you're talking massive files, that's a lot of hard drives. So add up, just do the mathematics, write it down, and see, does it make sense to you right now?
That's what's going to shock people, is it?
Yeah.
They're going to go, I've got this drive, and then all of a sudden, now there's nothing, no more room.
No, I remember when you came out, you first got your hands on the 1DC, and we were sitting there chatting about how many cards and just how much money that would cost to actually cover a whole day's shoot.
It's about £7,000 worth of cards. Whoa. Because you need the top-end SanDisk type cards or Lexars, and they're like 600 quid each, 128 gigs, which gives you 30 minutes. So, I don't offload media during the day. It just is going to cause you issues. You're going to screw up. Unless you've got a DIT, you're going to screw up. And therefore, you need to have enough cards.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money. and I bought cheap cards, and what's happened to them?
Most of them
are screwed up. They're unbranded ones. So.
Yeah, and one thing actually just to point out on the Black Magic is if people are looking at buying it, for goodness sakes, do pay an awful lot of attention to what SSDs people are using. I mean, we've had problems, even with certain SanDisk models, we've had problems with dropping frames. The smaller capacity ones, for some reason the Black Magic doesn't always like them, and it's really, really worth doing your research. I mean, we actually just use the 480 gig Extreme 2s and Extremes in them. We've never had one problem, but the reality is Philip was saying, they're not cheap. Those are 350, 400 pound cards. But all I would say is please don't think that you can get away with using a cheap SSD. It's not worth it.
Black Magic have a list on there. I mean, they did for the original.
They do.
So
they do.
Yeah, check their website for a list of recommended cards.
We're just going to wrap things up here, but in a way of saying, where should people go and look at the show? Obviously, come and see which stand are you on?
There.
It's, they're over there at home. I know you're there. Oh, it's E50. I can even. We've been waving to each other all morning. Hyra cameras on E50. Have you had time to look around this morning?
Yeah. I would definitely go. If you want to look at loads of different cameras in one go, you go to CVP, which is a massive stand, and they pretty much have everything. I think there.
Yeah.
Apart from the GH4, where so if you want GH4,
that's
go to
over on
Panasonic. Go check out Atomus's
Ninja
Blade.
I was going to say, let's quickly review, shall we, what we've had a look on the show today. Come on, someone pick the big one up again. Excellent.
Can I pick up
nice
this?
Yeah, there we go. So we've had a little look at the Sony camera, which you can see on the Hyra camera stand. Of course, Black Magic here with that camera as well on their stand. The lens, is that on yours?
No, that's floating around, I think actually on production gears at the moment.
Right,
yeah,
excellent.
that's where Samyang are at the moment.
And of course, we've got the brand new Ninja Blade, which is remarkable, 575 of your English or Great British pounds.
And it's available to half. We've already ordered loads.
You've
nice
got these on there as well.
Well
excellent, comes in the box. It's
BVE discount.
It's fantastic.
A TV Bay discount.
Gentlemen, the three wise men of the broadcast show, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
I didn't bring myrrh, just to let you know, I didn't bring the myrrh.
What, no gifts at all?
No,
I bought frankincense.
I'll tell you what, Jeremy's disappeared and he's left the box, and I'm just going to put those behind.
I'll take this then. I'll take this.
Thank you, gentlemen. Coming up next, we've got Training for the Future with ITTP. That's at 2 o'clock here. Thank you to the boys. Oh, by the way, if there's something that we haven't covered that's here at the show that you want us to, Johnny's going to roam around. He'll go wherever you want to. Tweet us at Broadcast Show. Make sure you use the hashtag BVE14. BVE14. Forget the 20. They don't have that on the official hashtag, apparently. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back at 2 o'clock. We'll see you later.